I do have a shopping addiction, but it's not that bad. First item is from Bershka, and these are some super cool forest green trousers, and they were $19.99.
The magic power of clothes is that they let us choose who we want to be. Fashion has become affordable and accessible to everyone. But we are buying way too much, and the clothing industry is polluting the planet. It has to change. But how can we reinvent fashion but keep the fun?
All these eyes staring at me.
Pioneers are experimenting with new fabrics, recycling and high-tech design, paving the way for the future of fashion.
Some of the solutions that we are looking for are here already.
This is from the cans. This is from the cans that are collected. That was on the catwalk last September.
The promise is the magic transformation now, tonight, for this job interview, for this date, the possibility of seeing myself grow in the eyes of someone else. And that is magic.
It's nice when you see it on the catwalk and people just don't realize the amount of work you spend.
This is Backlight. Welcome to your new wardrobe. Fashion for everyone. Our insatiable hunger for new, affordable clothes has turned the clothing industry into a dizzying fast fashion system. More than 100 billion new items are produced every year. A third of them are never sold, never worn, and dumped, shredded, or burned. After oil, fashion is now the most polluting industry.
Fashion affects 100% of the population. We all wear clothes. I mean, you may not be interested in fashion, but you still need to get dressed. And our wardrobes are in the fashion supply chain. So every day when you choose the clothes you wear, you actually can have an impact.
In 2013, Ursula de Castro established Fashion Revolution, a movement demanding attention for the world behind the clothes racks.
Fashion Revolution is by now the biggest fashion activism movement in the world, and it was started as a result of the Rana Plaza disaster, which is this tragedy that happened in Bangladesh, where a factory building collapsed, killing 1,138 people. We all realized that something needed to be done fast, intelligently, creatively, and so we got together and we did it.
Flash mobs in big cities. Hashtag Who Made My Clothes. This is how Fashion Revolution is trying to influence industry and consumers.
Last April, we reached over 270 million people with our hashtag Who Made My Clothes. And I think people are beginning to be aware of the fact that the fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries in the world, that we don't know who makes our clothes, that there is zero transparency. This conversation is really becoming mainstream.
Are you suggesting that it's the consumer that has to bring about change in the fashion industry?
Absolutely not. We do not suggest that at all. Change needs to happen at every level of the fashion supply chain. And the consumer is not involved with every level of the fashion supply chain, only the last. So consumers can certainly be very active in terms of asking who made my clothes. Consumers can certainly make more mindful shopping choices. Personally, I tell people, torture yourself. Wait. You know, it doesn't mean that if you've got 10 quid in your pocket, that doesn't have to translate into clothing. Wait if you really, really, really want something. That's beautiful. It works perfectly. And then once you do decide that you want to buy something, mend it, repair it, share it, pass it on. There are ways that we can really prolong the life of clothing and therefore really slow down their journey into landfill. And this is the one thing that consumers can do to make a very, very big difference.
Consumers can change their buying behaviour, but that's not enough. New ideas for making the fashion industry more sustainable must come too from designers and businesses searching for a new approach.
I think that there is a new generation of designers that really are embracing not just a different aesthetics, but a different approach that incorporates sustainable material, that incorporates that curiosity of actually wanting to employ your design for the good of others as well as the good of your collection.
Exactly, then the show starts. Then listen, when the finale, you do not stop the
The
music.
humorous and optimistic Vin and Omi are part of the new wave of activist designers. They've been working on new biodegradable fabrics for 17 years. Suddenly, they're hip and uber cool. Their new show kicks off London Fashion Week.
Models, can you please put your phone away now? Because if I see another phone, then it's gone. Sustainable fashion is looking at carbon footprint, carbon emission, renewable sources, green energy, circular economy, end of life of garment, producing less garments, calculating formulas in terms of how you produce a garment and each garment what the end result is. I think the term is used so loosely, and I think the fashion industry right now is sort of backpedaling and struggling to catch up with this idea.
How's the shoes going?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Can you stay close to the fittings with a glue gun?
I was going to bring a glue gun.
Yeah.
And a tagging gun.
And a tagging gun.
Yeah.
Have a tagging gun and a glue gun with you at all times, yeah? Yeah. Right. Okay then, so that's got to go on.
Let's find somewhere to put that. Let me
I really
have a look
like
at the
it.
looks.
It's got to go on. It's got to go on.
Let me find the
This one.
looks.
I really didn't like fashion at all. I don't like the way that the fashion industry is set up, but I like fabrics. I like the science of fabrics. I like the feel of fabrics and the textiles and the way that they move and the way that they work. I like how things are constructed. I like how things flow. I like the sculptural elements of garments. When you're in fashion, your base cost is textile. And textile is something that fashion designers often completely ignore. They just get it in from a supplier or an agent. We looked at it financially. That was one of the motivators. Also dealing with the traders that we didn't really necessarily get on with. We thought, no, we're not paying you any money. Let's work out a way to do it ourselves. And we're quite determined like that. If we meet a lot of friction along the way or somebody bumps the price up, we'll go, no, we'll do it ourselves. Goodbye. And we're stubborn. The first one that we developed, I think, was the latex one, because latex production is often working with exploited villages and with very bad processes for the environment as well. So we thought, okay, let's see how much it is to invest in our own plantation. Let's make sure that everything we touch, we know where it came from, why it's got there, and who's made it. And this was many, many years ago. There's a lot of rPET fabric, which we take from river and ocean cleanup schemes. We're working with a group of kayakers here in England who go down the rivers and pick up plastic in their kayaks. The different plastics that you collect, you can turn into very fine silk-like fabrics. And it's really out of just pig-headedness that we wanted to make sure that we did things the way that we wanted to do.
Vin's very organic in his creative process. If you ask him to design a wedding dress, it will look like a tree. I'm very rigid in my creative process, so I tend to see straight lines and squares and rectangles and triangles. I think maybe because I've got Asperger's and I tend to like order. Can we get that big dress out next, the blue one? Because we got the big
Let's have a streeter look and then go bigger and bigger, yeah? No, let's not have all these opinions. Let me think. That can't go there.
Let's put a Jaeger look out. Maria!
Seisha!
So then it's Stephen.
No, there's not two blokes together.
Okay, then let's put Alicia.
You can go out.
Wait, slowly.
When you get backstage and you're in the middle of it, it's not fashion. I think of it as Vin and Omi, as the ideology that we are, as actually just really the window front of our ideology.
It's not about the commercial process. It's not about making a lot of money. It's about being responsible and inspiring. If I say to you, could you bake a cake but do not use flour, yeast, butter, eggs, sugar, but I still want a fluffy cake. Now that's exactly how we work. You're asking us to build a collection, but please do not switch on the iron more than half an hour. Please use only sustainable, recyclable, highly renewable sources of material. Please also calculate the human energy, the carbon emission, the carbon footprint.
Chris, Maria.
So the luxury of being a fashion designer is not there, you know.
Oh, Maria. Straight after.
Vin and Omi avoid London and New York so they can work 100% sustainably. They operate from the rural, fertile Cotswolds instead and grow crops here to make the materials used in their collections.
When does all this need to go to the weaver?
We'll do those next, and then we'll do these. Pass me that top one of the pile. This is fine. These ones are fine. I think we need to just be careful of which pile we're using for the thing. I think all of these are fine. Well, we spend a lot of our days growing things and making things, and we're very hands-on because we both like experimenting. And if you're going to do sustainable and you're going to grow crops, I mean, you might as well be where the fields are. We turn into farmers a lot of the time. You've got to see where the nettles are growing, and you've got to be hands-on and touch it, and then you really believe in your product. And when we were in central London or when we were in New York, it just wasn't accessible. You're part of a system. You're not quite sure whether you're thinking in the right way. It's the same as going on Facebook for too long. It's like suddenly you're liking things and you don't know if you like them. And it's exactly the same process if you're in a city with fashion. It's like you're going along to these parties and you're thinking, what a waste of time. I could be growing nettles. Just strip it off with your hands. So. Yeah. About 80% of the things we try don't work. And I think with the new fabrics that we're doing with cow parsley and with the rosebay willow herbs, it's very labour intensive, but we'll have an idea, we'll see how it works, and then what we'll do is we'll ask other people to help us to make it.
What does it take to turn a nettle into a piece of fabric?
You have to rot it, and then you break the back of it and see how the fibres are. You then take out the middle bit, the woody bit that you don't need, and you're left with these fibres, which you then get they're sort of like brushes with needles in that you just comb it out into like a fluffy sort of floss, which you then twist into a twine, which we then weave into garments.
It's quite fun. The fact that you have to go salvage for your own craft. It's nice when you see on the catwalk and people just don't realize the amount of work you spend 7 months, a year, doing things like this. It's so rewarding.
And this is what we make our leather from. This is a tree mushroom, which is a new type of way of working with leather. And this is the end effect when it's been processed and dried. It's quite durable, quite stretchy. And then we put oxidation on it to bleach it and make it a little bit more wearable. But it kind of goes through that process from that, really.
The horse chestnuts, they make leather as well. Every autumn, it's just rotting on the roadside. And we pay the kids to go do some weekend jobs on Saturday afternoon. So instead of hanging out in the mall, they go pick chestnuts for us.
Vin and Omi are small-scale pioneers, but lately famous people such as Michelle Obama, Blondie, Beyoncé and Lady Gaga have taken to wearing their clothes. And now the big brands have come knocking.
You have organizations coming up to us and going, right, we want to turn zero waste. Can you help us? Seriously, if you are really concerned about the environment, then you have to take a step back and say, maybe we need to hit the pause button. Maybe we need to say less is more, but that's not going to happen. For existing brands, there's no way they can be sustainable. I mean, it's just impossible. If you're a commercial entity already, in order for you to be sustainable, you're going to have to take a serious pay cut.
Lost and discarded fishing nets litter our sea and entangle marine life. The Ecanal regeneration system allows our design team to deliver a solution that inspires. Ecanal thread, created entirely from regenerated fishing nets and other nylon debris.
Clothing brands like H&M are joining the trend. Their advertising and research focus on recycling and sustainability.
The Conscious Exclusive collection features innovative textiles woven from recycled plastics, regenerated nylon, and fibers sourced from responsibly managed forests.
That's the main problem with this industry. Everybody's talking about it, but nobody's actually doing it.
Could you imagine a Vin and Omi for H&M?
No. I think there's few questions that needs to be answered first. So, for example, it's very, very admirable what H&M is doing in terms of putting a lot of money behind research and sourcing and all that stuff. But the very, very simple thing would be, why are you still producing that much? Practice what you preach.
Meanwhile, the clothing surplus is piling up. Production has doubled over the last 15 years. Anything that's not burned in European waste incinerators ends up in Asia or Africa, where they wonder where all these new or hardly worn clothes come from.
इधर भी ऐसा ही बोलते हैं सब कि उधर पानी की कमी इसलिए इधर आता है ये सब ऐसा ही बोलते हैं
इसलिए 2-4 बार ये कपड़े यूज करके फिर वो फेंक देते हैं
पता नहीं उसको कपड़े धोने अच्छे लगते हैं या नहीं या क्या बातें हो तो पता नहीं.
Many people feel better about the waste they produce with their clothes because they hand them in for charity purposes. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, when I was growing up, giving things to charity certainly was an act of goodness. It is no longer now. It's simply an act of dumping. I mean, the reality is that nobody wants our second-hand clothing anymore. Our second-hand clothing has had a very detrimental effect in many of the countries where it's shipped. You know, in Africa, for instance, where it's decimated. The local printing, the local weaving, you know, that skills.
Businesses will do anything to be green, as long as they don't have to cut back on production. H&M has even burned rejected clothes to generate green energy.
It's just completely nonsensical. If you want to save energy, don't produce them in the first place. You know, it really doesn't make any sense. There is nothing about the burning of clothing that can be ever deemed sustainable. What we need is an efficient, common sense, creative and technological approach that allows us, first of all, to understand where surplus happens and then address the surplus before it becomes waste.
Fashion brands prefer to keep their surplus and sales data to themselves.
Er is gewoon te veel, er wordt te veel geproduceerd. Een kledingstuk moet geproduceerd worden en dat kledingstuk, er worden duizenden stuks van gemaakt. Dat wordt bij 3 verschillende fabrieken uitgezet. 1 fabrikant zal uiteindelijk op tijd gaan leveren. Die andere 2 fabrikanten die hebben dus alles geproduceerd, maar die spullen zijn dus niet meer nodig. Dan heb je nog de kleding die niet verkocht is in de winkel. On en on is er gewoon uitverkoop. De perceptie van mensen over kledingstukken nu is dat het vooral een soort wegwerpartikel lijkt te zijn geworden. Je draagt het misschien 1-2 keer of helemaal niet. En dan verdwijnt het. Maar wat dus natuurlijk ook gebeurt is dat er dus heel veel besteld wordt. Dus er wordt ook heel veel weer geretourneerd. Waarvan wij ook weten dat niet alles terug in het systeem geplaatst wordt, omdat het vaak heel erg prijzig is.
Van Bentham is a successful designer. His modernist collections have made it to the Paris catwalks. Together with designer Alexander van Slobbe, he has found an answer to the wasteful fashion system.
toen hadden wij zoiets van, nou stel nou dat wij toegang zouden hebben tot die producties en je gaat die vervolgens inzetten als grondstof. Voor ons was het een soort van, ja, eigenlijk bizar dat wat gebeurt er anders met die spullen?
Their Amsterdam label, Hacked By, makes new collections out of surplus lots from big brands.
Wat hack je precies?
Nou, eigenlijk hacken we het systeem door daar letterlijk in te breken, die overproducties ons toe te eigenen, waardoor ze eigenlijk een soort leverancier van ons worden. We gaan met kant-en-klare kledingstukken aan de slag. We veranderen ze en daar maken we een nieuw product uit. Dit zijn voorbeelden die we hebben gemaakt voor de samenwerking met H&M. Een mannenoverhemd, geprint. Dit zijn zeg maar 2 mouwen die weer aan elkaar zijn gezet. Daar is dan weer zeg maar deze kanten rand onderaan en dat op een witte ondergrond. Overhemd is van H&M en het is uit hun sale.
Niet verkocht?
Niet verkocht. Hier is de rest van het overhemd en dat is nu een soort van applicatie geworden op een rokje.
En merken als H&M vond het prima om jullie de onverkochte kleding te geven?
Ja, iedereen is natuurlijk bezig om zichzelf opnieuw uit te vinden en bezig te zijn met duurzaamheid. Omdat de klant steeds meer eist. Het liefst wat wij doen is natuurlijk dat we met de merken gewoon in volle transparantie samenwerken en een oplossing kunnen zijn voor dat probleem.
It's not only the cheap chain stores, but also the exclusive brands that destroy their surpluses to protect their brand name.
Dit is ook, je moet hem eigenlijk zo zien, bovenkant van het rokje en dit is de onderkant van het rokje.
Van wie was dat gouden rokje?
Dat gouden rokje is een Prada-rokje. En daar is in diezelfde serie, is dan bijvoorbeeld ook dit. Dat is eigenlijk een jurk. En die jurk was dicht, maar het was een hele kleine maat. En die was bijna onverkoopbaar. Dus vervolgens hebben wij daar dan weer de schaar in gezet. En is het een jekje geworden. Deze jurk kostte €14,50. Maar het is voor de hele jurk natuurlijk, dus de onderkant. Die is er dus nu niet meer. Dit is op zo'n andere manier afgewerkt dan zeg maar zo'n fast fashion item. Het label blijft er ook in. Wij willen gewoon ons etiket naast het bestaande etiket kunnen plaatsen. Omdat het item is al ontworpen en wij voegen er eigenlijk gewoon onze hand aan toe.
En labels die zetten we er ook weer in?
Ja, heel graag.
Handmatig?
Ja, wij hebben het handmatig gedaan, ja. Maar stel dat je die machinaal kan doen en je kan de onderdraad, dat die zeg maar de kleur van de stof gaat krijgen, vind ik het goed. Ja. Het haalt ook een beetje die snelheid uit die mode, doordat wij constant bezig zijn met gewoon per item te kijken van wat kunnen we hier nou mee doen. Maar vervolgens wil je natuurlijk ook nog dat het geproduceerd wordt in een serie. Dat je dat ook in 30 stuks kan doen, maar ook bijvoorbeeld in 100 stuks kan doen. Als wij een kledingstuk kopen van een merk wat in duizenden stuks is geproduceerd, vervolgens gaan wij ermee aan de slag. We hoeven geen patronen daarvoor te ontwikkelen. Het gaat allemaal veel sneller, waardoor de kostprijs dus uiteindelijk ook veel lager blijft. We hebben eigenlijk voor ons een soort van ambitie uitgesproken van laten we nou eens zeggen dat wij een duurzaam fast fashion merk zouden zijn.
Kun je je voorstellen dat over 10 jaar in de Kalverstraat naast H&M, naast de Zara, de Hacked By winkel is?
Ja, zeer zeker. Het is een heel toegankelijk product. Hoe wij werken is gewoon een oplossing voor dat overstokprobleem.
It's a drop in the ocean. Less than 1% of all clothing is recycled into new clothes. Producing one pair of cotton jeans takes more than 10,000 litres of water. Vin and Omi are seeking a solution to the cotton problem in their own refuse.
So let's get all those that we can turn into the fine fabric first.
Yeah. We try not to use cotton. We use a lot of rPET. So we use a lot of recycled salvage plastic bottles and turn them into yarns and then weave into fabric. And they feel as soft as cotton.
This is pad.
Yeah, you take the
Pad
wheels
4.
off. Take the wheels off. Yeah. One of the biggest problems with cotton is you stick the word organic on the front of everything and everybody thinks, oh, that's wonderful. Cotton uses one of the biggest wasters of water ever. And you look at parts of the world where cotton plantations and cotton farming has grown up. I think it's Kazakhstan, which is one of the biggest new developments of cotton. And it's just drained a sea. It's drained an inland sea completely of its water because it's just feeding cotton. And where does that cotton go? It goes into £5 jeans or really cut-price jeans that people wear once and throw away. It's ridiculous. And then it may have the label organic cotton on it. What's organic about actually draining a whole sea from the planet?
So we get a delivery of metal every couple of weeks.
This is from local care homes, local hospitals, local businesses that send us mainly metal, but often you get plastic, as you can see, mixed in with it as well. And what we're doing now is stepping up production, so we need lots and lots of metal. And luckily, there's a lot of it around.
I mean, like these ones we can beat up into jewelry.
But the majority of the cans that we use go into shirts and to skirts.
We are sitting on a gold mine. The landfills are like gold mines to us. I mean, there's so much material.
I mean, electric wire, for example, it's like, I mean, it comes in like this. What we'll do is we'll strip it off. The plastic can go into clothing and the metal can go into clothing. So there's two different types of textiles within each wire. That's the metal fabric that came from the cans.
Oh.
Careful, it's really sharp around the corners.
Yeah.
So this is from?
This is from the cans. This is from the cans that are collected. That was on the catwalk last September. But it's very, very, wearable and scrunchable, and you can sew it. So that's good. Yeah, just very fine aluminium. Yep. The future of fashion, I think, fashion in general has got to go through an awful lot of change. And I think smaller companies will start to thrive. Smaller companies will start to really blossom and mushroom out, and the internet will help that. So the future of fashion is something completely different from what we see now.
We need to get the plastic out.
Could you imagine that the garments we see will be produced in larger numbers and you can actually wear them?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But it takes time. Getting all of these production cycles set up is a really slow process. Then you can start to produce the volume of textiles where you can make the right volumes of garments. And what we're looking at now is the ideal fabric to scale up for production. So I think this one would be good for the cow parsley and the rose bay willow herbs. And I think this one for the nettles, because if you look at the height of the nettles here, they're growing really, really high. I think separating it half and half with nettles here and cow parsley there. We'll have to have a look at the production schedule.
And then I think just a strip here for pea. I don't think we should do more than that.
Down there, it's really sunny. I mean, that's always very sunny there. So maybe put the peas there. We'll have to talk to the farmer about it and see which is the percentage is better, really.
Can the gap between Vin and Omi's unique sustainable items and the mass production for the high streets ever be closed?
Muddy, isn't it?
The whole business model for the clothes industry would have to go. Writer and thinker Otto von Busch says fashion shouldn't be addictive, but liberating. At the famous Parsons School of Design, he tries to wean his students off the fashion system and change their perspective on fashion.
If I have a special pocket with a little mending kit that I always carry around, and then suddenly I just see, oh my God, you're losing your button. How would that change my relationship and my attention to other people if I'm actually sort of seeing that I can repair for you? And if I have the mending kit with me in a special pocket that I know it is always there, it contains something that opens the world for us. So many of my students have this view that thanks to democratization of fashion, thanks to H&M and Forever 21, everybody has access to it. We live in a sort of fashion utopia. The only problem is that we just need to fix a little factories here, and some pollution there, But otherwise, it's fine. But the troubles of fashion are also here. There's all these anxieties and fears and all these stress that people feel around clothing that we need to sort of highlight, and as designers, we need to deal with. We need to find much more wholesome ways of being with clothes, and we need to make people feel that they don't necessarily need to buy it as fast food. Look at the role of the designer. I am dependent on you feeling bad about yourself. I need to continuously undermine your self-esteem that you are not good enough. So you need to come to me to buy my clothes to feel good about yourself. But I cannot give it too much. I cannot sort of cure you, because then you don't come back. The business model is built on me producing addiction in you, making sure that you just feel good enough for long enough to come back to me. I need to be your sugar daddy. Otherwise, I will not make it as a fashion designer. I will not have enough customers to pay my bills. So, there's something corrupt at the very core of the way that the role of the fashion designer looks at its user.
Oh, Misha, you didn't own one of these skirts until last week, and now you own 4 of them. But can you blame me? It's spotty.
The whole spectrum of possible ways for me to engage with fashion, rather than coming back to the fashion store, sitting when I'm tired and sad at night, going through the websites, buy things I haven't tried on, but it doesn't cost too much. It's like a computer game, and it comes to me sent over from some factory overseas. I don't really care if it fits or not. Perhaps it's, otherwise I just throw it out. It's so cynical, it's so horrible. And the thousands and thousands of students that come through this economy, and with that image of mind that is how fashion should be. We need to unschool them. We need to deprogram what the fashion narrative has told us all in order to have a wider vision of what fashion could be. This is, it's a crisis of imagination. What is a pocket that has my phone on the outside, but that I cannot reach? So that when my phone rings, I need to come up, can you help me answer the phone? And someone has to go down in that pocket and take out my phone. How would that symbolize something else? The more I have a pocket for my phone that is on the inside of my garments, the more I show that I don't trust you guys. But if it's a public phone on my back, I need you, and I show that I trust you because you need to actually take out my phone for me to answer it. What if we symbolize and signal trust to people instead? How would that change the way we are in the world? What? So pockets contain secrets, contain magic. They open up. All right. I think the interesting part comes out of building skills and abilities, because there's something deeply transgressive and a little dangerous about skills, because we never know how people use them. So if you actually teach people to sew, yes, perhaps it's a trend right now, but there is something subversive in that very skill of knitting or sewing or whatever, because suddenly you can trade it. You can do something outside of the economy with it.
Being able to make your own fashion gives a sense of autonomy. This could be the solution to our insane fashion system. The question is, do we go back to needlework and nature, or fast forward to the technological future? Recent graduate Jasna Rokkegem is working in Antwerp on her solution to the clothing surplus. Her sustainable dream? The ultimate garment, making all others redundant. It sounds like science fiction, but it's not.
Dat is geen 5 volt. Dat is 5 volt. Dat is 5 volt, ja. Goed 5 volt.
Ja. Als je dus kwijt of geagiteerd bent, dan ga je ook je stekels als het ware opzetten. En dat is wat we hier zien, is dat je echt ziet en aantoont van laat me met rust, want ik ben echt enorm kwijt. Dus dat zijn eigenlijk prototypes die jullie nu zien die in zijn kinderschoenen staan, die we aan het maken zijn. De tweede stap is dan om echt effectief dit in een design te gaan stoppen. En zo ga je eigenlijk een soort van heel nieuwe communicatietaal creëren en integreren in kleding.
Je bent eigenlijk een uitvinder.
Ja, Dat is een term die ik beter passend vind dan een modeontwerpster. Op dit moment, in 2018, zitten we nog altijd in een digitale revolutie. En wat of welke meerwaarde biedt kleding ons op dit moment? We zien ook enorm dat heel veel industrieën enorm aan het innoveren zijn en vooruit aan het denken zijn en aan het ontwikkelen zijn. Maar de mode blijft op een bepaald punt ook ergens stilstaan. Mijn ultieme droom is dat we nog maar 1 kledingstuk meer hebben. Het ultieme kledingstuk. Die kan veranderen van kleur, van vorm, die altijd schoon blijft. Dat kledingstuk verandert eigenlijk de hele dag door mee met jou. Naar gelang van wat heb ik nodig of hoe voel ik mij. Vandaag bestaat dat al. Kijk maar naar de astronauten. Astronauten hebben ook maar 1 pak waarmee dat ze 2 jaar of 3 jaar of zelfs veel langer in de ruimte zitten. Het is de eerste collectie in de wereld die dus de hersengolven met kleding die kan veranderen van vorm en kleur ging gaan verbinden, doordat je beter met jezelf kan gaan communiceren en jezelf beter kan leren begrijpen. Maar ook de mensen rondom jou, de wereld rondom jou, je netwerken, de dingen zoals Internet of Things. Dus ik zie dat echt als een meerwaarde. Het is echt een extensie van ons lichaam, een extensie van ons zijn, een extensie van onze identiteit.
Maar is het ultieme kledingstuk niet een berenvel? Dat hoef je ook niet te wassen. Het past altijd. Iedere dag hetzelfde.
Ja, dat klopt. Maar dan zitten we natuurlijk terug in de geschiedenis. Maar we hebben al die tools. Er is al die technologie. Al die data die verzameld wordt. We kunnen hier zoveel meer mee doen dan wat we vandaag hebben. Dus laten we de handen in elkaar slaan om die impact op de wereld te gaan vergroten en die heel vervuilende mode-industrie net die footprint te gaan verkleinen, maar ook om dus die dagelijkse extra functie eraan toe te gaan voegen.
Her vision inspires decision makers in fashion, retail, and even in the automotive sector. Here is Jasna Rogegem.
With the help of machine learning and artificial intelligence, our garment becomes smarter and smarter. And it can know what you need before you do. I mean, look at me, for instance, standing here on stage, feeling uncomfortable and stressed with all these eyes staring at me. I really could use a shirt right now that is smart enough to learn from my past behavior and give me a little massage. Or spread a scent of lavender. But in the near future, we will not have all these garments to choose of, but only one. This is Bright. Bright is a brain visualizer, and each color is connected to a brainwave. We can see when the dress shows, like now, that Lara is actually feeling pretty okay on stage. There is a nice blue glow off her back. You feel comfortable here on stage? But now you're getting excited.
Je kleding wordt eigenlijk een soort smartphone, toch?
Nou, zo expliciet zou ik het niet gaan zien. Ik denk eerder dat de smartphone binnen x aantal jaar vervangen wordt door onze kleding. Hè. En dat is ook net interessant om te gaan kijken. Want men zou dan kunnen zeggen, hoe kunnen we dan business gaan voeren als we geen kledingstukken meer kunnen verkopen? Maar we hebben ook maar 1 smartphone vandaag. Het is niet zo dat we op maandag een iPhone hebben en op dinsdag een Samsung en dan de andere dag weer een ander telefoonmerk. Als je 1 kledingstuk zou hebben die zich aanpast naar gelang hoe jij je voelt of de situatie, ja, dan heb je er natuurlijk maar 1 meer nodig, wat veel duurzamer is. Maar het kan bijvoorbeeld ook best zijn dat je een slimme kleerkast hebt die precies weet wat de inhoud is van je kleerkast en jou al een suggestie gaat doen. Of zoals dat wij vandaag kleding aan het 3D-printen zijn, dat je kan 3D-printen met materialen die afbreekbaar zijn en dat het 's avonds het materiaal terug afgebroken wordt en 's ochtends weer een nieuwe outfit mee geprint wordt, naar gelang wat je op dat moment wil dragen.
Big players like NASA and Volkswagen want to work with Jasna Rokkegem on the next phase of data-driven communication.
Dus we hebben kadertjes gebouwd om er rond te doen. En dan hebben we nog die met die pins.
She has made an interactive spike skin for Nokia's research lab. It responds to brain stimuli.
Het is eigenlijk 2 jaar geleden ongeveer begonnen hè, dat we Jasna ontdekt hebben. Voor ons is de vraag, ja, wat is die sixth sense die we toch willen overbrengen? En dan natuurlijk, ja, wat is er meer natuurlijk dan om kledij te gaan gebruiken, om dat over te brengen naar elkaar. Die smartphone eigenlijk, die we altijd hebben, voor mij ook, waar leg ik het, waar zet ik het, is eigenlijk toch niet je dat. Dus hoe kunnen we eigenlijk die functionaliteit meer over ons lichaam verspreiden, waar we het nodig hebben? En dat willen we samen met Jasna ook eigenlijk verder exploreren.
Als je het gaat opblazen, krijg je die een druk op je schouder, waardoor dat je het schouderklopje nabootst.
Het zou leuk zijn om dat ontwerp echt te maken, alsof het dan goed in echte kledij zou fitten.
Ja, wel, dus dat is wat we hier gedaan hebben. Ik had ook gekozen voor een vestje, omdat dat al minder aan het lichaam hangt. Hier hebben we de effect circumflex, waarbij dat je inderdaad ziet dat je die 5 stages hebt. Je hebt neutraal, happy, angry, sad en relaxed. Ja, we willen eigenlijk ervoor zorgen dat mensen elke keer terug naar een neutraal punt komen. Dus dat je echt in balans bent.
Daarom neem je ook de meest evenwichtige beslissingen.
Ja. Je kan echt gaan nadenken over systemen. Hoe meer data dat we gaan verzamelen, van over verschillende plekken in de wereld, zouden we bijvoorbeeld ook gaan kunnen kijken van waar in de stad zijn de mensen nu het meest gelukkig? En hoe komt dat de mensen daar het meest gelukkig zijn? Wat kunnen we daaruit leren en hoe kunnen we dat gaan implementeren op andere plekken in de wereld? Of jouw heart rate. Dus op zo'n manier kunnen we ook ziektes eigenlijk gaan voorspellen en gaan voorkomen. Dus het is eigenlijk superbelangrijk dat die mode mee shift en naar de next level gaat en technologie gaat omarmen. Now, my main goal with this is to create garments that we don't need to wash anymore. Great for the environment. No more polluting fibers in our oceans. No more electricity powering our washing machines. Fashion is the interface of the future. Thank you.
Are we headed for one data-driven garment? Vin and Omi prefer to find their answers in nature.
Hello. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We've been looking for the right sort of place to get our fleece from.
How many alpacas do you have here?
Here we have over 300 now.
No! Which is your favourite llama? Alpaca, sorry.
We've got a little boy that we're bottle feeding at the minute.
Oh.
And he absolutely adores me. He's in here somewhere.
Hello.
Legolas.
Oh, he's coming. He's coming.
Hello.
He's so sweet.
He thinks I'm his mum, so... And he knows his name very well, don't you?
Hello.
What's his name?
Legolas.
Legolas.
Legolas. We're going to put you on the catwalk.
Do we have the names of the fleece of where were the ones that you bagged?
Yeah, I have all the names, so...
Oh, brilliant. Cool. Because we like to credit them on the credit sheet.
Yeah.
When they go on the catwalk.
The fleece is untreated, is it? When we buy it, it's just, you know, as it comes off the animal.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Very, very fine and very, very fluffy. Like,
This is winning this one.
I mean, not like any other fleece, really. It's much, much finer.
It's very clean as well.
Which one do you want then?
I think let's get the black one.
Well, what we do is if we take that, because what we're doing is we're designing the collection now for February, and we're working out what garments we've got.
Yeah.
So we definitely will need a black one. That'll be really beautiful. So we might want all of these as well.
I mean, can we let you know by next week? Hello.
It's just incredible.
And what's your problem?
look at that one with the brown eyes.
Have you seen any of our stuff? Did you have a look?
No.
It's probably good you didn't, because it's quite wacky. we use the fleece in its raw state.
Yeah.
It's our alternative to fur, really, so that we're not killing any animal, and it's you know, like an alternative to fur. That's llama.
That's amazing.
Fur is a beautiful thing if it's on an animal. It's not so beautiful when it's on a person. I really think that the killing of animals to wear is just the wrong thing to do. So if you take it from animals that aren't killed, that have a long lifespan, then the animal's fine. Everyone's happy. It's the best way to do it.
We are at a point in time in which we can, as designers, use our creativity to create beautiful things that have a positive impact in the fashion industry and the fashion supply chain. I mean, how beautiful is today the super skinny 16-year-old model with pumped up lips, sprawled on some zebra-skinned sofa, half naked. We don't consider that beautiful anymore. That's an old beauty. So we are looking at a beauty that has different parameters, more human parameters, more inclusive parameters, more original parameters. This is the future of the fashion industry and of beauty.
So listen, guys, those with change, you need to go round the bus to come back because you're coming off on the right. It's a faster paced show. We want a lot of street attitude, androgynous walking, no bridal walk. So everything you learn at Modeling School 101, forget it. We don't believe in convention. So if somebody says to us, the model's got to be 6 foot tall, size 0, with cheekbones, look absolutely amazing, and you know, it's just not us. So by showing a diverse group of models in terms of color, in terms of size, in terms of age, it then breaks the barrier down that we are not exclusive. The fashion industry cannot be exclusive anymore. It just cannot. It's not a sustainable practice. Fashion is not exclusive. Everybody wears it. Come here. Remake. Wait. Stay there. There's nobody else after you, right? During Fashion Week, we present an idea. So the collection is not for sale. It's just showing the industry and the press, the buyers and stuff, that this is what's possible from rubbish. This is what we can do. Okay, go. Okay, you're next. Stay there. Walk in the middle, yeah?
The idea of beauty will change. Why isn't eco the new religion? Why isn't the planet the new religion? Why isn't the planet your new God? What the hell is religion? You know, we're on this planet that is dying. This should be your God. The planet should be your God. It's a very serious message that we're pushing, and the whole industry is going through a very serious crisis. The whole planet's going through a serious crisis. But you've got to live, you've got to have fun. We're not as serious as we could be, you know, but that's who we are. So our shows reflect who we are. I really think that if you're too serious about something, a lot of people switch off. No, they don't. It's too long. Let's go. Let's follow them. Come. Go.